Welcome to Run with Purpose. For those of you that are new, my name is Flores. So glad you found this podcast. Would love if you would subscribe. You can find us everywhere podcasts are found. Obviously, you're listening to us right now. You found it somehow. It'd be really great if you did subscribe, and you could also reach out on all the socials at flores.run. And you hear a little laughter in the background. That's right. We have another special guest this week. The founder and CEO of Qualified Apparel, the unicorn tight-wearing, overall cool dude, Ryan Huff. Thanks for joining me, Ryan.
What? Full disclaimer, I feel like I saw that thing in the Google Doc you sent me, and I was like, unicorn pair, without any context. That just makes you sound like a freaking weirdo.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to start with it, because I'm like, oh wait, we can get into the story of what that actually means, but it's so much better if you just like say it with no context. Yeah, be like, hey guys, so end of the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah, I hope you you figure out what that means. But yeah, thanks so much, Ryan, for joining me on the show today.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for reaching out. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So we'll get into a little bit of, I would say, like our background, if you will, but there's really not too much of the background. But I wanted you to give kind of like an elevator pitch about you. Like, who is Ryan Huff?
For sure, man. So small town USA, born and raised in a city that's about 45 minutes hour west of Fort Worth. And anyways, man, just long story short, or as short as I can make it more so, I was going through life a little bit, and went through high school, 75 kids in my graduating class, and fortunately met a mentor around my senior year that really, fortunately changed my life from the direction that I was heading. And anyways, man, just ended up learning a whole lot as far as in self-help, self-improvement stuff. And yeah, ended up becoming the man who I am today through all that stuff, going through different experiences and such, a lot of which happened most recently in life. But yeah, dude, I run an organization called Qualified Apparel that feeds families across America. In fact, every one item we sell provides 20 meals for families in America. Run a podcast similar to yours as well, aiming to provide value to people. And for what we do with the Qualified is because I believe everyone is qualified to make a difference in the world we live in. However, there's a massive difference between having potential and actually going out and doing something. Right. Everything we do is to make an impact in someone's life in a positive way, and so that's a very brief overview about who I am, but I mean that's I'm sure we'll get more into it here.
Yeah, you kind of hit on some of the initial topics and kind of where I really wanted to go down. And so the background of meeting Ryan is we actually have never formally met. I guess there's a way to say it. So I was running the Cowtown Marathon back in February, and a couple times I just saw this dude just like cheering people on wearing some unicorn tights. And I'm just like, what is this guy? Like, I need to find out who this is, because he's definitely like a positive influence. He's like definitely bringing joy and cheer to the race itself, especially when you're feeling like garbage, towards the end of the race, which we talked about before. But so I basically I was on Instagram, and I was just like, there's got to be someone that used the hashtag of something unicorn, and like Cowtown Marathon and unicorn. Like, there's got to be someone that did that. And I found a good handful of posts and like slowly made over to your Instagram. And I was just like, okay.
There were a few people that actually had tagged me and like reached out to me. Matter of fact, after that race, it's funny you say that, because there were I'm just remembering it now. There were several people that reached out, like, dude, thank you so much for saying what you said, your energy, all that kind of jazz, because it helped me.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. He was right at it was probably a little less than a mile left of the course, and it's a pretty quiet area leaving a park heading towards the finish. And it was really nice to have that extra encouragement to be like, hey, it's literally right around the corner. Just like climb this massive hill, because I don't understand why. Like, I thought Texas was flat, and it kind of upset me. Like, the few little hills that are in Fort Worth, it's like, hey, we're going to climb this bridge and we're going to go like over this. And I'm like, no, let me do all the flat parts that I saw.
Oh yeah. That bridge is right at mile 9 or so, right?
Give or take,
Big climb you guys had. Yeah.
And it wasn't like a crazy climb, but it's when you take into perspective, it's like, then you just have little rollers and you're like, okay, I didn't respect that. I didn't respect that hill at mile 9, and now I'm paying for it at 25.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, so like Ryan talked about.
You know something funny though?
Yeah.
Going before. So it was colder that day, right? And I didn't realize this, but like I've never actually cheered. And for the record, I wear these ridiculous unicorn leggings with rainbows and all kinds of nonsense on them because if I'm not racing a race, which I'm a triathlete, endurance athlete and such, so I love doing those events. But when I'm not doing them and I have the opportunity to spectate, I love putting these pants on because they're just ridiculous. Yeah. But more importantly, bring joy to people and like people smile and laugh. And so that's the important part, being the reason someone smiles. But like, dude, I was clapping so much and not thinking about the fact that, cold dries out your skin like crazy. My hands were actually bleeding and cracking by the end of the day. Like there was actually a point, there's a video I posted on my Instagram about me, like, there you go, like, giving the energy and whatnot with my tie-dye hoodie on as well and such. Like I was actually having to give fist bumps after a while because I couldn't give high fives because my freaking hands were so disgusting, and I didn't want to I didn't want to take the chance to like get an infection from someone or whatever have you, vice versa, So, but it was just, it was kind of ridiculous. I remember putting on some hand lotion later on that day, and like my hands felt like they were on fire, obviously from that point. But gosh. It was brutal. It
was interesting though, because, so going down to Texas, I think it was in like the low 40s or something obscene like that. But to me, Ohio, I was like, this is great. I wore a tank top. I wore my the shortest shorts. And there's pictures at the start where everyone is just bundled. You start with the half marathon as well. Dude. Everyone's bundled. And I'm like, I'm wearing shorty shorts and tanks.
Degrees is freezing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It's 100 degrees outside right now here. So
what is it here? I think it was, my wife's in Florida right now, and she said like the high's like it was 6 o'clock this morning and it was 77 there, and I go, the high here today is 76. Oh wow! So yeah, we're good for you. Yeah, we're officially in fall. No, I'd rather have 100 degrees. It's beautiful to run in 50-degree weather, but that means snow is coming soon.
Yeah. No, I prefer the heat over the cold any day of the week. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, you get used to it. But yeah, so Ryan talked about, with Qualified Apparel and, trying to basically make a difference in the community, if you will. I felt like we had similar ideas and goals with what we were trying to do, with the podcast and then with everything, Hangry compared to Qualified Apparel. So I was like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to be that creeper, and I'm going to reach out to him on Instagram and be like, hey, let's do something. Let's make it happen. And then after some messaging back and forth for a few weeks, we got on a phone call a couple of days ago now. And and said, this is happening. We're gonna record this. So that's basically the super long intro of what's going on today. And really the conversation today is about positivity, and the reason why, and I'll have Ryan elaborate on it a little more, but if you go to Qualified Apparel's website, the vision of Qualified Apparel is to be the leading positive impact brand in the world, providing food, clean water, education, and freedom from human trafficking to millions across the globe every year. And that leading positive impact brand, we talked about a little bit on the phone. It's just, I just absolutely love that. It's just that whole positive message and trying to make a positive impact on the world, and at the same time doing these things and making a difference in communities where you can actually like have a tangible thing as well. Because positivity is obviously it's a feeling, but being able to actually put tangible items to that as well is kind of awesome. So heading into that, I'd love if you'd give like a little background of Qualified Apparel, and just like, full disclosure, guys, I just ordered my shirts today, so hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I can take some pictures with them, and it'll be a thing. But yeah, I'm very excited to get my stuff.
There you go. Actually, I shipped them same day too. It worked out just fine. I got your order, which thank you again, by the way.
No problem.
40 meals were provided from your shirts. That's amazing. Nice. So that brings us to 10,960 meals for families in America today. So that's pretty awesome. As of today, as it's being recorded on September 6th, I should say. Yeah. So the background with Qualified Apparel came to be. I mean, so I mentioned earlier in the show, there's a lot more to it, but I was learning a lot of self-help, self-improvement books through my mentor and best friend now. I mean, he's we have some of the best memories together. But I was going to college just like most kids at my age at the time. So I'm 28 now, but I was going to school right after high school. And hated it, dude. I absolutely hated it. Cause I mean, I'm short of you. I mean, in my opinion, short of you needing to be or wanting to be a doctor, lawyer, dentist, engineer, you know, a psychiatrist, whatever, you don't need to go to school.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I 100% agree with that.
Exactly. And so like unfortunately though, a lot of kids our age, it seems like that they think that a college degree is everything. And so, but they don't do any research whatsoever. They don't look into it at all. And so they think I'm going to go get a degree in underwater basket weaving over here. I'm going to make six out of it. You know, obviously that's a facetious example.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you know, they get a degree that really has the worst return on investment. They get out of college after going to a Division I school, which they don't need to go to Division I school for a lot of things. You can go to a community college first, get your associate's degree knocked out for super cheap, and then go to a Division I school after that if you want, you know. But I mean, there's a lot of more efficient ways to do that. But like they get out of school with 6 figures of debt, and then they get a $40,000 a year job, and then they're just ticked off at their life. And anyway, so it's like, be smart about it. You know, do your research with your degree. Make sure the job market for that is actually there, and that it's actually a good return on your investment. Just be smart. You know, it's a major decision to go to school, so be smart about it. So like for me, I hated college, and so I started thinking that, and I was going for my business degree actually, and that's actually why I even say that. So like I was going for my business degree, and I just hated it, dude, because I'm sitting there. My mindset was I'm sitting there learning a bunch of nonsense that has absolutely nothing to do with my degree. Like I'm sitting there learning about, I had to take a geology class, and during my associates, which it's hilarious to me because like, colleges in themselves are a business, right? That's why you have your associate's program anyways, because more often than not, your associate's degree is just a regurgitation of everything you learned in high school, but to a more advanced level, right? And so then you get charged at the wazoo for all these classes. And it's just hilarious. I mean, a book that I had to buy for a class was over $200 that I'll never use again.
Yeah.
So
but it's weird as you bring that up. I mean, I know it's not necessarily the topic itself, but it's crazy how like society as well kind of ingrains that into us of if you don't go to college, like you can look like a failure, or you're kind of, I wouldn't say put to the side, but it can kind of have that like negative connotation to it. But like you said, unless you're going to be a doctor or something where you need technical training or even like a trade school, it's just, don't just go just to waste money. You know, I know too many people that, so I work for a finance company, and there are so many people that have degrees in communication, education, things that they're not doing, that they spent way too much money on. And now it's like, now what?
Right. Well, the thing you should do that I would really encourage people, especially as I've gotten out of it and have learned from other people that are more successful than I am, is that if you want to go to school, but your degree but the thing you want to do doesn't really necessitate it, but you don't really know where to start, a great thing to do is find someone who's in your line of work. Let's say, for example, you want to be a graphic designer, or you want to be in communications, you want to be in marketing, whatever have you. What if you did this? What if you found someone who is already in that role that you want to be working for? Let's say they're working for Lockheed Martin, working for Lululemon, or whoever have you. More often than not, those people have a social media, or they have a LinkedIn, or they have some way that you can get in touch with them. Get in touch with them. Tell them exactly what you're doing with your life. Obviously be prepared whenever you don't just be like, hey, be prepared, get stuff together. But like reach out to them and offer to work for free. Offer to take them out to lunch. Offer to fly out and meet with them for several hours or whatever they're willing to give you. And just be intentional with your time. Be purposeful. Because here's the thing, you could either go to college and pay for classes that ultimately I made it clear, but ultimately are not helping you become a better person, or ultimately helping you get closer to making your dreams and goals into reality, or which is still going to cost you money. Or you can take the free route, which is reaching out to these people. It might cost you some money if you choose to fly out with them or take them to dinner or whatever have you, but that's a heck of a lot better. That's a heck of a lot more resourceful and a more efficient use of your time to do it that way. Versus, I'm sorry to get on education on this.
No, man.
It's a lot better use of your here's what you're doing. You're learning from people who have actually done what you want to do. And
right.
It makes zero sense for me to go to a business school learning from I was actually listening to Joel Marion's podcast, Born in Impact podcast today, and he was talking about one of his guests on was going for a business degree, or not business. I forget what it was exactly, but it was some other degree. And this guy asked him, he goes, he asked the professor, he goes, how much money do you make? And the professor was kind of insulted. He goes, you shouldn't ask me that question. He goes, well, he says, well, I'm wanting to know. He said, I wanted to know, like, how successful you are, because I wanted to do essentially what you're telling us to do. And I want to know how successful you are. Well, the guy wouldn't tell him. It wasn't until several weeks later that the kid saw, that this guest that he had on his podcast saw that he was driving away from campus in some 1993, Toyota Corolla that was all beat up and everything. Mm-hmm. So not to say that maybe that person didn't have any money, but it looked like, just from the outside, this person that was teaching you how to be successful really wasn't successful themselves.
Right.
So consider the source. If you want to learn how to do something great, don't reinvent the wheel. Learn from someone who's already done that, and speed up time, do their results, learn from their mistakes, and go from there, but take that risk, take that chance, and don't waste your time. Dude, time is finite. Your time on this earth is finite. So use it to your advantage, be purposeful, be intentional, and go out and do something differently. If you want to do something you've never done, you got to become someone you've never been before and do something you haven't achieved yet. Yeah. And so anyways, but with that disclaimer,
so Qualified Apparel.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry.
No, it's fine, man.
But I was in school, hated it and everything. And so actually, and during this time, I'm also hanging out with a lot of people that are, I say a lot, it was 3 people that really they're not bad people, but they made me feel really inadequate, like for not having a college degree like they had from a Division I school, for not having a family that was as affluent as theirs, for not having a new car like they had. And that was even the reason why I chose to go to school, because these people were going at, oh, sorry. That was
You good?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I think I was silent during that time, so you can probably
you were still fine. You were fine on my end.
Oh, good. Okay, sorry. Yeah. On my end, my sister-in-law called me, so the phone started ringing.
No worries.
Anyways, hopefully she didn't call back. Anyway, so I was hanging out with these people that I thought were my best friends at the time, and just making me feel like I don't think they did it intentionally. Like I said, they were not bad people, but just the way they were living, I think how they were taught, they were just, if your life decisions didn't line up with theirs, then you were wrong. And so, anyway, so I'm hanging out with my mentor. I'm starting to actually learn some valuable stuff. The first book he put in my hand was 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And I started learning those things. Well, what I've come to find out is that I actually loved learning, but it was actually learning information that was valuable to me that actually helped make me into a better person. Right. And that's after putting that book in my hand, dude, I had this insatiable desire to learn from that point on. And I just wanted to learn more and learn more and learn more. And so I started reading, the Jim Collins books, the Napoleon Hill books, James Allen's, just a lot of stuff, just pouring all this information into my mind. And so going forward from that, after a series of events happened with these guys, not to go into too much detail, but after a series of events happened with these people, I just cut the relationships off. I just cut the relationships off cold turkey. I was like, I'm done. And notably, only one of them actually reached out, and there was a couple of events that just kind of brought it to a head. And I was like, you know what, dude, this is it. And so I did. And so it was telling after only one of them reached out, and they actually had to reach out. They wrote me a letter asking me to, they said, hey, I said, I don't know, we don't know what happened, but I feel like you at least owe me an explanation. Which, another thing, you don't owe anyone an explanation for anything that you do. Yeah. It's your life. Ultimately, it's your decisions and everything. But for me, I knew that, first of all, I didn't owe him anything, first of all. But at the same time, I knew that meeting up with him, and this is probably a year or two later, but I knew that meeting up with him would not be beneficial at all. It wouldn't be fruitful, because I already made up my decision about what I'm doing. I'm already moving my life in a direction that I'm honestly happy with and I'm excited about, because I know that I didn't realize it at the time, but I was essentially laying the foundation for what I'm doing today. Right. And so I just knew that there was not going to be any beneficial, anything fruitful coming from that conversation. So I didn't even respond to the letter. So going forward from there, like I said, started reading a bunch of stuff, learning a bunch of stuff. And Craig, who's my mentor, he actually used to be the former CEO of Mrs. Fields Cookies. Have you heard of them before?
Yeah, I've seen them around.
Yeah. So several years ago, whenever he ran them, like apparently they've recently got bought by a different company since he left, but they were like the bee's knees back in the day. Apparently.
Yeah.
So I didn't have those kind of cookies, but apparently like the highest ingredients, best quality product.
They're really, really good stuff.
And yeah. And so, well, he took it from a $25 million a year company to $967 million. So just about $1 billion. And so he's just wildly successful as a businessman. And I just so happened to have him as a best friend. I don't think I shared the story just yet about him, but like the reason I even came in touch with him was because our families knew each other through church, our local church. And one summer, his wife had shoulder surgery, and then he herniated a disc in his back. Well, that meant that they couldn't take care of their lawn during Texas, or during the summer in Texas. And so therefore his wife called my mom, and, I ended up working for him. Well, come to find out, a year after, or that summer after I got done working for him, he almost fired me and told me not to come back. Not because my work was bad, work was excellent, but because my mouth was so bad. I was just so sarcastic. And so going from there, his wife, which I say this all the time, and I will do it once I have the means, is she told him, and she goes, well, have you confronted Ryan about it? Have you told him about his mouth? And he goes, no. And she goes, well, maybe you should. So the next time I come over to his house, he really starts kicking my butt about it. And that really started the beginning of what became this amazing friendship that I have. I mean, he's good 30 years older than me. Actually not 30, maybe he's 54, 55, something like that. So close to 30 years older than me, but just like seriously the only person I really hang around with. He's my best friend. Grateful to have him as my mentor as well. So anyway, going forward, the reason I bring that up is because he and I were supposed to get into business together. But through no fault of his own, this life ended up happening, and nothing ended up working out. Well, in 2015, I think it was more so 2016, 2017, he and his wife moved to Bedford, Indiana to learn how to flip houses. And so therefore I was left at home, and I remember just being frustrated in my life because I wanted to do something, and I put so much emphasis on the relationship with Craig that I felt like I was waiting for him to do something, and not more so realizing that I had all the ability within me with all this information I've been learning to do everything I wanted to, because I had all the ability within me to accomplish these things. I was, essentially, like the brand is called, qualified, because I believe I know that I'm qualified for more. I just got to put in the work. So the way I describe it is this: how Qualified Apparel was born, or it was then called Kona Qualified Apparel. We'll get into that, but like, I was doing this on this rant of positivity is how I describe it in my room, and just like talking to myself out loud. And I said out loud, my mission is to live a life worth remembering, knowing that the world is made better because I lived. And after I said that, I stopped and I smiled. I was like, wow, I said, that's what we're here for, man. And so going forward, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, well, what do we do? Like, we have our last mission, so what do we do now? And I feel like God really put it on my heart. He's like, all right, apparel, that's the thing. And so I went ahead and started. I had an Instagram that I had just recently started because I'm also a triathlete, like as I mentioned prior. And so I was working to qualify for the Ironman World Championship, which triathlon is another thing that just led me to doing so many amazing things in my life. That's how Qualified Apparel was started. That's how the Qualified podcast was started. So all these amazing, even down to some amazing relationships I've had, and experiences I've had in my life were a result of triathlon. So I'm super grateful for this sport. But anyways, I had the Instagram name Kona Qualified because Kona is where the Ironman World Championship takes place in Kona, Hawaii every year, 140.6 mile race over in Kona on the Big Island of Hawaii. That's
still nuts because we were over there for vacation a few years ago, and like we were there in October. The race is late October.
It's the first or second weekend of October. I think it's the first weekend of October.
Then maybe it may have been just before we had gotten there. And the one like stretch of road that's the bike ride, we like drove that, and I'm like, it's like 60-mile-an-hour winds right now. Like, how would you push up? Like, I didn't want to be like with the windows down in the car. I'm like, I couldn't imagine. And I saw some people like on bikes, just like training and stuff. But I'm like, this is hot. You're on like super blacktop in Hawaii. And that's crazy nuts. But yeah,
it's actually, there's harder. What's funny is there's actually harder Ironman courses that are out there, but it's certainly one of the hardest ones. The conditions are just wild. Last year, 2018, they actually had some of the best conditions to date. The winds were hardly nothing, and the temperatures stayed in like the 70s to 80s. I believe.
That's nice.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that, but give or take. But they had, therefore, some of the fastest course times came out of that day because the conditions were just, excellent. So anyways, but like, that's where the dream came from. And so I started what was then called Kona Qualified Apparel. And honestly, I look back on those original designs and shirts and just kind of cringe because I'm like some people, I see some of my friends and family like wear them today, and I'm like, oh gosh, please don't wear that.
Yeah, I will pay you to take that off.
Yeah, I'm like, gosh, get some of our new stuff, man. I'm proud of what we have today, but man, it was a start, and that was the main thing. And that's something I encourage anyone who's listening out there. It's like, it doesn't have to be sexy whenever you start, whether it's a running journey or a business or a relationship, whatever. It's like, you just have to start, like, put yourself out there, and you're gonna fail, you're gonna fall flat on your face most likely. But if you don't fail, you're not going to get any better.
Right.
Failure gives you an education. It tells you what didn't work, so now you know what possibly could work, so you can go forward more empowered. And so I was I started Kona Qualified Apparel. Fortunately, got some great advice from a guy going forward, and changed the name in January of 2018 and to Qualified Apparel. Then we added the positive impact to it of giving to at the time was No Kid Hungry. And I really didn't work in the company at all up until August of 2018 when I did my first trade show. I met some amazing people that have helped me out tremendously with my business. Their company is called Mason Jar Label. Their names are Matt and Amber Bird, and have just helped me out wildly with this company. So I'm super grateful and love those people. But I ended up really taking it seriously once August came around. And we actually changed the company we give to Feeding America. And the main reason of that is because No Kid Hungry limited us as far as what we could say in our marketing purposes. So like, for example, when I say 1 = 20, meaning that for every one item purchased, 20 meals are provided for families in America, No Kid Hungry didn't like that. Well, I hadn't actually got to the 1 = 20 thing just yet. But No Kid Hungry, they said something in there like it was like I forget exactly what it was, but they just wouldn't let me do that.
Gotcha.
And so I reached out to Feeding America, and they were, 100% on board with that. Like, yeah, sure. Whatever, use whatever language you need to do. And the only thing I can't say about them on my website, I can actually use their name or their logo just yet, because Feeding America requires, which we will get to this point, which I'm excited to once we do. But Feeding America, in order to use their name and logo, you have to be a minimum donor of $100,000 every year.
Gotcha.
I'm like, okay, perfect. I said, so that gives us a goal to shoot for. We'll get there, and that day will come. But right now, so we give directly to Feeding America, which is an amazing organization. They provide over 4 billion meals a year to families across America. And they are one of the most efficient charities in the country as well. 98% of all money given to them goes directly to feeding people.
That's
so
awesome.
That's an amazing part of it. And so that's who we chose to partner with. And also a great thing about Feeding America, they have so many food banks and food pantries around the country that it allows the qualified family, who I refer to as people that listen to the podcast or do business with Qualified Apparel like yourself, that the qualified family can now get involved directly with other food banks and food pantries and around the country as well. And so I'm not sure if your listeners are aware. Most people, I think I didn't realize this myself, but over 40 million Americans struggle with hunger in this country, which is astounding. And over 12 million of those are kids. So that's why I wanted to start giving in our backyard first. Like you mentioned, with the vision of the company being the leading positive impact brand in the world, we want to get to the point where we're able to feed families not only in America, but of course, but also being able to do, feeding families in other countries that are not the United States. And so I'm excited for that time, but I'm not also going to miss the opportunity to help where we are first, where our feet are first. And so that's the background it came. Just to had that kind of background with it, and that's how the company got started. And so we're excited to reach our goal of over 15,000 meals provided this year. And so it's exciting, man. It's a good time. I'm elated to go forward with it.
If I remember correctly, you said you're like 40 or 60 to date to 11,000. I can't remember the number you just said earlier.
Oh, sorry. It's we're only 2 items away. Actually, we're at 10,960. So
gotcha,
that's only every 1 = 20. So yeah.
So by the time you guys hear this, they're going to be well over 11,000, and then you guys are going to be buying stuff too, because that's how we do things.
If you use the promo codes podcast20, actually use the promo code podcast20, you can get 20% off your first purchase.
Perfect.
And free shipping as always, high quality stuff, and super positive. So
all of their stuff is very positive. Like, I was sending some stuff to people at work, and I kept kept sending them shirts and he kept sending, they're like, you're going to go broke if you buy 15 shirts from this place. I'm like, no, I'm just going to buy 2 now. Cause I don't think we talked about this. So like I've been designing my own shirts just for personal use. Cause from a marketing kind of a positive thing, as well as, if you're basically, when you wear some other company, you're basically a walking billboard for them. So why would I want to promote a company maybe that's like, maybe I like the shirt, but if the company doesn't stand to my values and that sort of thing, why would I want to kind of promote them? So I'm like, okay, I'll start designing my own little things, make these one-offs. And when people say like, hey, where'd you get that? I'm like, oh, I made it. And it's just, it's like it's a different kind of feeling to be like, this is what I'm making. But obviously you guys, like I said, the designs are super cool. I bought one for my wife and one for me. And once those come in, we'll have pictures on the Facebooks and the Instagrams to make that.
I love the ones you got, man. The dogs are my love language. That was my first pet inspired one. And then to be on purpose, this goes perfectly with your podcast.
Oh, so much. Like right when I saw that, I was like, well, I'm obviously buying this one. I just have to like, it's like which other ones are going to be because that's the whole thing. And when you hit that nail in the head earlier, when you're like, even with like the college thing or anything like that, it's like, be intentional and have purpose. Like, don't just go willy nilly because this life there's not a lot of time. It may seem like a lot of time, but before you know it, I mean, I feel like I'm 32 now. I can remember vividly when I was in high school, like almost like it was last week. And I'm like, no, it's been a very long time. Like when our school hits almost 15-year anniversary, I'm like, man, I'm getting old. Like I passed the 10-year college anniversary or reunion.
Oh man. Wow. Gosh. I remember my, I was in a Facebook group with some guys that I graduated high school with. Obviously I didn't get my degree. I have one. Oh yeah, that's mentioned. I have one class left for my college degree if I want to get it, my associates. But like for me, it's more of a metaphorical middle finger to the people that didn't believe in me. Not just people that, not
that
just
is
people
awesome.
that. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, it's not just people, not just the guys and girls that I hung out with. It's more of like the people when I was a waiter at Chili's for 10 years, right? Or almost 10 years, I should say. I was a server for 9, a manager for 1. And there would be people that I'd wait on, man, that would come into there and I basically saw them grow up, especially working there for that period of time. And there'd be parents that would come in and different, kids that were younger than me or older than me. And whenever they'd ask me what I'm doing, with my life, this is before Qualified Apparel. And this is before other things that I've been working on now. And they never said it directly, but every time I told them what I'm doing, I'm like, yeah, just a server right now, doing this and that, whatever, training for triathlon or whatever. Their look and their expression, their nonverbal cues was like, what the heck are you doing with your life? You're obviously a loser. Obviously you're not going to date my daughter,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was their nonverbal cues. And like, for me, I feel like that's a lot, that can be relatable to a lot of people because it's people, if your life doesn't line up to the expectations of someone else, then, oh, hey, you're wrong. No. That doesn't make you wrong just because your life doesn't meet up to the expectations of someone else. You got to look at what you're doing every day. If what you're doing every day is moving your life forward, if you're not doing something immoral, unethical, whatever, you're actually doing something that you enjoy, that you love, or more so, you might not be doing something you enjoy or love, but maybe you're working towards something that you enjoy or love, right? Or maybe you're working towards a life that you want to achieve. Then keep doing what you're doing. Don't just stop because some jackwagon who probably hates their life wants to put you down because they see you actually moving your life forward, or maybe to see that you're happy. I mean, I'm a firm believer that if you can be super happy with just being a fry cook at McDonald's and you're dipping fries, you're flipping burgers, but that fulfills you, and you go home to your wife or your kids, whatever, and you're happy, right? You're happy living in your apartment and driving your car that could be better, or whatever have you, and you're happy doing that. Keep doing it. Don't let anyone tell you you're not. But the only issue I have with that is if you're doing that same job and you're pissed off every day you go into work, you hate Mondays, or you hate, whatever. Like for me, I never understood the whole thing about people hating Mondays.
Dude,
like, why?
It aggravates the shit out of me because I work in a cubicle office. So like my life feels like office space sometimes, but it's one of those where it's like, I don't understand it's another Monday. Like you hear the phone calls around when people call in, and I'm like, it's another work day. The day is what you make it. if you make
Right.
it the crap that you're making it seem to be, then guess what it's going to be? It's going to be that. You know,
Right.
you just have to have that positive attitude and come at it in that way of, you know, today's going to be a great day. I'm going to tell you right now, we'll plug it later, but you guys need to follow Ryan on Instagram, because if you need some like positivity in your life every single day, like just, you know, he'll post some videos, you know, regardless of what the topic is, he just talks about things, and it's so great to have that positive encouragement. I didn't get to tell you this on the phone call, but I'm thankful for it. Is anytime I have the opportunity to sit, I put my AirPods on and just like listen to, you know, just basically go through the story. And I'm like, what's going on today? This is what's happening. That's how I knew you had you were trying to go to John Mayer. I was like, oh yeah, because I was watching his thing at whatever time in the morning I ended up seeing it. Yeah. So I don't know why I went down on that rant, but yeah. So we'll plug your social stuff later. But it's funny you had brought up the doing things for other people. It's like, we talked about this a little bit, but my wife and I had a 4-bedroom house. You know, we're the American dream, if you will. We moved to suburbia, had the 4-bedroom house, the 2-car garage, the dog, the big yard. And then we really, you know, had an honest conversation with ourselves of, you know, it was right around the time most of this minimalism thing started really taking form mainstream, if you will, and kind of looking at the things in our lives and saying, does this bring us joy? Does this, you know, for positivity's sake, does this bring us positive attitudes with what's around us in our situation? And we said, no, we don't really need this stuff. And then, you know, we had also had the conversation of we don't want kids. And those so we were moving into an apartment and telling everyone we didn't want kids. You would have thought I like lit a church on fire or something. You know what I mean? Like, it was the biggest thing, whether it was family, friends, coworkers, whatever. It was that kind of look, similar, like you said, working at the restaurant, where people are like, but that's the wrong way of doing it. I'm like, no, it's just not your way. And your way, just because it's not your way, doesn't make it wrong in any way, shape, or form. And since we've done this, like, our lives, like, I'm so much happier with less stuff. Like, the amount of crap we got rid of, I was just like, this is so freeing. It's like, I don't have to worry about it. It's like, you know, right, the things that I have, I use, and they add value to my life. I have a quote in my email from Joshua Fields Milburn, one of the minimalists. His it's, you know, love people and use things, because the opposite never works. And it's so true, because we get so involved with the things of this world that we forget that people are the important part.
Absolutely, man. People are the true treasure, man.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
One thing I just recently realized in my life. True. One thing I wanted to follow up with as well, that point I was making about, you know, happiness. You know, if you can find happiness being working at a fry cook, whatever, do that. But also another thing that is as important as well, to follow up on that as well. If you know within yourself that you're capable of more, it's going to be impossible for you to feel great about yourself if you're performing at a level that's underneath what you know you're capable of performing at. Like 100%. For example, like this whole, we hear this recently, but this whole body positivity thing, which, dude, I get it. You should love your body, right? You should love yourself, but have enough love and respect for yourself to love yourself. And like, for the person that, like, for example, I have a friend of mine, Laura, she is very, you know, happy with herself, but also she also has lost over 140 pounds, and she used to be out of control. She actually had her weight loss surgery scheduled, or the weight loss surgery appointment scheduled, but she chose to be like, you know what, screw this. I'm actually going to go work out, change my diet, and change my life. And she has, and she's not at her goal weight yet, but for her, it's more important for her is actually not to get a goal weight. It's just to be active and have a healthy lifestyle. And she's going to lose the weight as a means of that. But like, I think there's a difference in like, knowing.
Gosh, Bella wants to be on every episode. Bella,
there you go.
Sorry,
there you go. No, it's all good. I love dogs, man. But it's like there's a difference between like loving yourself and, you know, and knowing you're capable of more and actually going out and doing it, versus saying like I'm enough and saying like, oh, I love my body, but deep down, I'm not saying superficial, but like deep down within yourself, you get home and you might get on your Instagram and you might tell everyone else, oh yeah, I love my little extra weight. Goes both ways, guys and girls, man. I love my little extra weight. I'm just using this example because it's like the easiest one to get.
Yeah.
But then you get home at night, you take your clothes off, or get in the shower, you get out of the shower, and you see yourself naked in the mirror, and you hate yourself because you know you're capable of more. That's what I'm talking about. Like if you know you're capable of more in your life, it's going to be impossible for you to feel great about yourself if you know you're capable of performing more, which is why I'm so grateful right now. Cause I was struggling with consistency. I was struggling with those feelings of inadequacy and such, but I knew deep down I was capable of more. And so honestly, like it was easier for me to like put on a facade sometimes. But like, I mean, I'm still being genuine and like my happiness and such, but like deep down, I knew that, you know what, dude, I know I'm capable of more as well. I'm still happy about the general direction, but I know that I'm performing at a level that's underneath. I know I can do more, right? I know I'm capable of more. I know I'm capable of taking this company to a new level or whatever have you, right? Take my body to a new level and such. So it's like, you just gotta, it's important to be happy, but growth is happiness as well.
Right.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yep.
You know? And so you got to make sure that you're doing things in your everyday life to be pushing your life forward. Now, I'm not saying, dude, I'm not sitting here saying like, oh yeah, I've already made my first $1 million. Coming to Qualified Apparel is already over a 6-figure. Already making over 6 figures every month. We're already feeding over 100,000 people every month. Whatever. It's like, no, I'm not there yet. But dude, I'm just grateful for the fact that, you know what, hey, I might not be where I want to be yet, but thank God I'm not where I used to be as well. So I know I'm on the right path based on what other people that have come before me have done, and I'm grateful for the fact that I will get there. It's just a matter of time, And so. One thing I also encourage people that are listening as well, it's like, don't be comparative with what other people are doing. I've been there myself, dude. I remember actually, I had a friend of mine reach out to me. She works at a Lululemon store that's close to me. And she wanted to give me a shirt to try out. So that way I could give her some feedback, because they wanted to, they just had a new shirt come out, whatever. And so I put it on, and honestly, dude, I started feeling a little like, I started feeling a little comparison come over. I'm like, dude, I said, their quality is so much better than Qualified Apparel. Now, granted, Qualified Apparel is still a great product and I love it, but at the same time, it's not a Lululemon. But that's also a different.
It's also not an $85 t-shirt.
Exactly. And so, but I'm saying, the point I'm making is, I'm like, dude, we can get there. Maybe we're not going to charge $85 for a shirt, but I said, but we can get to the quality of that, and we can get that in time. I said, because dude, Lululemon has been at this for 20 years. Right. Qualified Apparel has just been in this for just about 2. Right.
Well, it's like you said, your initial designs and stuff like that. Now you cringe at it, but at the time you're like, all right, this is really good stuff. And then, but you're always growing. It's like you're in 2 years, you're going to look back at the stuff you're doing now and go, how did that sell?
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? I mean, granted, there's a lot of stuff that I love today, but you're right. I mean, you're always, if I have a firm belief, if you're not constantly, like Ed Milet, a guy who I love, you listen to his stuff by chance?
No, I haven't.
Dude, highly recommend him. So he's a self-help in that self-help, self-improvement space. But he talks about it this way. He says, you know what? Whenever I'm 20, let's say, I'm just put it in my terms, but he put it this way. It's like, whenever I'm 28 and I turn 29, that 28 version of me is gone. He's dead. He said, and I better make sure that whenever I'm turned 39, that I'm not familiar with that 29-year-old version of me either. And that's exactly how our life should be. We should constantly be characterized by growth. I mean, just like, for example, if your puppy, for example, at one point, whenever you first got her, you noticed that, hey, it was a small puppy and such, and like now it's a bigger dog. Well, you might not really notice that, she grew into a bigger dog, as time goes on, because why? Because you're always around it. You don't really notice it. But other people can see that. But like, that's how our lives need to be. We need to make sure that we're constantly growing. If you're the same jackwagon that you were in high school as you are today, that's an issue. If I'm the same Ryan Huff that I am at 28, that I am at 48, that's an issue. Not just for me, but like, think about all the other people that I've missed out on impacting in a positive way as of not taking care of myself first, as of not being committed to growth. Because, dude, it's like a buddy of mine who I had on the podcast recently. His name is Justin Shank. He one of the ways he puts it, he says, dude, it's selfish for you not to get it together. It's selfish for you not to move your life forward. It's selfish for you not to want to move your life forward. Because don't think about just yourself. What about all the other people that are depending on you to get your life together as well? What about your kids? What about your family? What about your church? What about your community? Whatever. It's like, you need to get your life together for those people as well, because the more you grow, the better you become, the better the world around you becomes as well. Yeah,
100%. And it goes along kind of with my, getting comfortable with discomfort. And my pastor had made a point with it of, there's no growth in comfort. Like, if you're comfortable, you're not going anywhere. You got to stretch it out. And like you said, Ryan, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head, is if you're doing something, whether or not people say it's worth it or you've made it or whatever they want to judge you, if you feel that you're putting your full potential and that's where you want to be and that's it, then, go after it. But if you're not, you gotta light that fire. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to get out and make it happen.
Right.
So
agreed.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're going to hate yourself when you get to your deathbed and think of all these like regrets that you had. Like, man, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. Versus like getting to your deathbed and being like, dude, I did it right. And like of course you probably would have failed a lot of times. Who hasn't? But failure
is not a bad thing. Like you said earlier.
Absolutely not, dude. People look at it as a negative, because I think a lot of people look at it this way as a negative, because when we fail, we then have, so this book I've been reading is called How to Stop the Pain. It talks about this a lot. It says when we fail, we often fear failure because we don't really feel the experience necessarily. We fear the judgment that will come from other people around us as well. And whenever we can start releasing ourselves from the judgment of others, there's power in that, because then, especially for me, I'm a Christian. I don't want to push that on anyone else that's out there listening, but like I look at myself how God, I'm developing, changing my heart beliefs to look at myself at how God looks at me as well. God made me in his image, right? And he declared me as righteous, where I'm the righteousness of Christ. And so whenever I have my identity in him and it's rooted and grounded in him, I don't need to care at all what you think. I mean, your opinions are just your opinions. Your judgments are your judgments. And so it comes down to that. So, often people fear failure because they fear the judgments of other people. Whenever you can release yourself from that, obviously it's easier said than done. I understand that. But like at the same time, it's like if you just constantly make small steps every single day to not care so much what people think. Like, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Last night I was in my car, I was making a story, and there were people that were walking by, by my car and such. Before, old Brian would have been like,
you stop it, dude, you start it later.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll wait until people walk by and then I'll make it after. Like, I'm like, dude, who freaking cares? If they look at me and they judge me, that's on them. I said, but like for me, I have a point I want to make, whether it's just me talking about a John Mayer concert, which really wasn't that significant, but like, hey, I want to make this video right now. And if they laugh at me, they laugh, whatever, that's on them. I'm going to make this thing. So it's like, if you can just release yourself from the judgment of others, that's so liberating.
Yeah.
And it's so
100%.
It's just refreshing, because if you don't, it's not to say, I'm not saying to like, be a real dick in the world and like, I don't care what people say. I'm talking about if you want to do something with your life that necessitates a higher quality and more so that requires you to do something different, you've got to release yourself from the judgments of others, because so long as you're allowing your life to be dictated by the judgments of others, you're not going to be moving your life forward hardly at all, especially compared to what your potential could be with that. So going through that process of not caring what people think about you is super powerful and super liberating. Yeah,
100%. One thing you had said, and I couldn't remember it exactly, and I was going to go back on your Instagram, but I'm like, I'll just ask you. There was a quote, you had some personal things going on a week or two ago, and you had this one quote that was talking about something about how people react in situations. Can you share that? I can't remember what it is.
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and say it on this one. So recently my mom, the quote goes, things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. So to give some context about that, just recently I just got out of, I didn't get out of a relationship, but there was a woman that was super promising, amazing personality, great values, great sense of humor, just a real pleasure to be around. But ultimately, she had just gotten out of a 4-year relationship with a guy who was manipulating her, cheating on her. And I unfortunately didn't have my guard up. So whenever we were talking the first night when we met, I obviously just ignored those warning signs. And so I kind of fell a little too hard than I should have. And it ended up, not working out, because fortunately, she realized it earlier than later, but that she needed to work on herself, which is great. I love that. I'm grateful that she realized that now versus, a year later, whenever we're dating. So I'm grateful for that. And there was some amazing life lessons that happened from that. But ultimately that situation, having my hopes high and then getting them kind of crushed in a sense, it hurt, man. So that was, just dealing with that, but then was kind of trivial. That was kind of trivial because the following day on August 20th, my mom came, I was doing some work on my computer and my mom walked in and she goes, hey, I got to tell you something. And so I was like, what? And so she had a struggle with, with telling me, and she finally was able to, you know, collect the words, and she goes, so she just recently got her appendix removed. Like it became gangrene and such. Like she had to get it removed and everything. And so she's all good now. But whenever they sent her samples or whatever to the lab to get tested, they found out that it was actually cancerous. And matter of fact, she's was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Oh, and I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm like, what? And because, I mean, you always hear like other people experiencing this stuff, right? You know, it's a whole different story whenever it hits home for you. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, this is actually your reality now. And so, I mean, long story, you know, in regards to that, like she's actually at a wellness center. She's actually doing the entire natural route, and she's got some great reports since, and her blood work's coming back. That's great. Awesome. She's making progress, and thank you. And so it's just amazing. Like she's doing exactly what I would do. So no offense to like, you know, chemotherapy and everything, but like that stuff destroys your body, bro. Right. And I she's like, I'm not losing my hair.
You're killing yourself to try to kill something else.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just our body. I'm a firm believer that if we facilitate the right environment for our body to fight something, it can take care of itself. Our bodies are amazing machines that God made. So yeah, anyway, so she's doing great. But like that whole week, dude, it was, I'm grateful for it because I'm grateful that it happened for me in this sense, because with the things that happened with that girl, and then another girl that was actually just before her, matter of fact, which full disclosure, I want to make sure after saying that I'm not some kind of freaking player as well. Like I've been single for about 12 years of my life, and not about 12 years, I've been single for 12 years. And there was these 2 women that so happened to just come out of the blue. One of them should have never happened. She's still a phenomenal woman. I tell this all the time. I would feel comfortable reaching out to her today and asking to go out to dinner with her. Like things ended like that well. We just realized like, hey, this is actually isn't the right thing. She wasn't even sure if she actually wanted to eventually get married or have kids. So like for me, that's something I want to have. So that's obviously do. Yeah. And phenomenal woman, both of them, but just ultimately didn't working out. That's actually, I mentioned having my wallet. I didn't have my wallet up. Well, it's because like we broke up on Wednesday. That following day, I met up with this other girl for a photo shoot for Qualified Apparel. Fell head over heels for her because I didn't have my guard up, and so that's what happened. Gotcha. So I say that I don't want to sound like oh yeah, I'm just hopping from girl to girl, bro. You know, and so
like she wasn't there to the next.
Yeah, no, it was definitely not a rebound. That was not how it was at all. I'm not that freaking guy. Anyway, so like, I'm looking for a wife. I'm not looking for some woman just to hang out with and whatever. I'm looking for the right one. Looking for the wife. So, anyways, so after that happened though, with the first girl and then with the second one, there was a lot of valuable life lessons. But I'm grateful for it, especially the experience with my mom, because what it ultimately gave me, dude, I'm not sure what the right word is. I think it's sympathy, but it's either sympathy or empathy. Because I honestly, before that part, I haven't had any bad, really negative things happen in my life at all, man. I mean, my life's been pretty easy. I mean, I grew up in a middle class household, didn't really, want for anything. Was taken care of, always had food on the table and such, went to great schools, whatever. I hadn't had anything really happen in my life that was really negative. And so after these experiences, I realized, I'm like, dude, there's a lot of hurting people in the world. There's a lot of pain in the world. And it kind of made me realize that a little bit more. So I'm grateful for that in that sense as well. But the reason I even say that quote, because like, I remember if you saw that, you saw that story that day. I was a mess, dude. It was like an ugly cry, but like, I pride myself in being which full disclosure, I haven't actually said this on my Instagram just yet, because there are some friends of my mom that follow me, and actually next weekend, so I'll be the weekend of the 14th of September, I'm going down to see her, and I think I've been talking to my mom on the phone. She'll allow me to talk about it publicly. But like, since there's friends of hers that follow me, she didn't want to let them know just yet what was going on. So therefore, I haven't disclosed it publicly. But I'm fine with doing this because there's probably some people that follow me that might follow you, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it'll be a few weeks until this releases on the 17th, so it'll be even after that.
Roger that. So, anyways, but like, but I realized, I'm like, dude, I said everything like this, like things are not best for people to make the best of things way things turn out. And so I wanted to like put some positive spin on this, because essentially I just got my crap kicked in on that morning. I'm dealing with this, with this heartache, and then dealing with even more heartache because I'm a mama's boy. And so I like this is the person I love the most, and so, anyways, so I had to literally, I was making that story and wasn't intending to cry, but just did because I just was bawling the entire day, like off and on. And so I made that story. I was like, dude, things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. And that's so freaking true. And I'm grateful that I was able to realize that quote going into it, which is why I'm so grateful that I was able to lay that foundation of all this positivity and all this mindset stuff going into it. Because honestly, if I didn't have a positive life stance, what's a positive life stance? A positive life stance is, it's where you come back to whenever times get tough. You know, a positive attitude by itself isn't valuable at all, because even a negative person can have a positive attitude whenever things are going good, right? Whenever life is going the way, even if someone that's kind of really negative has a negative life stance, can actually be similar, pretty positive. But like, a positive attitude has enormous value whenever life doesn't go your way. And that positive life stance is like where you come to whenever things hit the fan, right? Whenever crap hits the fan, where do you come back to whenever life starts to hand you a really bad hand, right? Basically what a positive life stance is, all right, how are you going to play your hand that you've been dealt? And for me, I'm just so grateful for the fact that I had that positive life stance, because honestly, dude, I don't know where I'd be right now. And I full disclosure as well, during that week, I've battled with suicidal thoughts in the past. Hadn't had one since October of last year. Whenever I realized like how much work it's going to take for me to make Qualified Apparel into the leading positive impact brand that I want it to be. But like during that week, I briefly had the thought, I'm like, dude, I said, why don't you just kill yourself? I said that honestly, like that, I get back to those emotions right now, but like, honestly, that would be an easier thing than going through what you're going through right now. I mean, this person you love the most is dealing with such a terrible thing. And then, you know, this girl, you know, that you had high hopes for didn't work out. And it's like, for me, like I had a brief thought. I was like, because I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to overcome that. And so, fortunately though, like my mom, that very day as we were praying, she got clarity from a friend of hers about this wellness center in Tampa. And then, so that worked out. And then for the as far as the woman was concerned, I'm like, dude, I said, honestly, the fact that it didn't work out with her is you would kind of dodge the bullet in a way, because she needs to work on herself, and she's an amazing woman, not taking anything away from her, but she needs to work on herself. And I'm still praying for her even today, even though things didn't work out. I still pray for her every day. I'm like, I pray that her heart is healed. I pray that she's able to forgive this man, and all that stuff. And like, I know things aren't going to work out with us. That's fine. I've already moved on from there and working on other things, and that's great. No animosity whatsoever. And it's like still praying for my mom and like healing for her and everything. And so, but like, that's why I feel like there's so much value in a positive life stance, and really realizing that if you can make, because here's the thing as well, positive attitude, the reason why a positive attitude is so great whenever things get bad is because a positive attitude does not change the circumstance at all. Just being positive about my mom having cancer or this girl didn't working out, that didn't change the circumstance at all. That didn't change the facts, right? However, what it absolutely indubitably did change is the fact of how I went through that experience, right? Because a positive attitude does two things. It makes the good better, and it makes the bad better. A negative attitude is going to make the good even worse, and it's going to make the bad even worse. And so for me, I'm just so grateful for the fact that I had this, because like I said, dude, I don't know how it would be tending right now. And so, that's why it's kind of baffling to me how there's so much pain in the world. And it's like, dude, it's like if people were able to change their mindset, change their perspective and how they view their circumstances around them, and realize that, you know what, hey, mankind is the only species that can actually change their circumstances by changing their decisions as well. By changing how you think, change how you react, change what you do daily. And it's not going to be an overnight experience, but failure is not an overnight experience. For that matter, neither is success. Each is a process. But like, if you can dedicate yourself to just that growth and that moving forward, I mean, gosh, even a terrible situation like what I'm experiencing, like, dude, I'm happy about it now. I'm back to where I was. And like, honestly, it sucked, because I remember like the next day, I wanted to get on there and be like, what's going on, everyone? I'm having an amazing day. Like all the stuff I love doing. Yeah. But like, I couldn't do it because it wasn't genuine, and it wasn't right. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to get on here and try to like front for people and be like, oh yeah, thanks, all sunshine, rainbows.
And that's what I was talking about, guys. When like seeing on Ryan's story, sorry to interrupt there, but having that positivity, you can tell it's genuine. And like you said, the day after, it's stuff like that. It's like, you did talk and you did make, a video about it, but it's not, it wasn't fake. And it was genuine, and you could tell through the process over those few days of obviously the hurt and the trying to understand and figure out what's going on. But then as the days went on, as people were praying for you, because we were praying for you, and I was telling people about it and all that sort of thing. It's as that time went on, you can tell, not that you're necessarily making peace with it, but you're being positive in the situation. As you know what, right. This is the hand I was dealt, and this is what's happening. What am I going to do with it? I was talking to someone today about that. Of when you have, we always just like a shitstorm or a fire drill or whatever at work, where it's like, hey, all hands on deck, we need this. The first thing so many people do is just complain. And it's like, don't complain. Like, this needs to happen. So instead of complaining about it, saying why we have to do it, you need to ask how we're going to do it. How am I going to get through this situation? Because guess what? It's happening. Whether you're going to be along for the ride or not, it's happening. So you might as well make the best of the situation. Because if not, like you said, if you have a negative attitude, your good things are still going to be negative.
Dude, one, I love that you said that, actually, because that book I was reading as well, which this book is just absolutely phenomenal. I'm so grateful for the fact that I've been doing this thing by Andy Frisella called 75 Hard that's required me to read 10 pages of a nonfiction every day, like a self-help, self-improvement book, because that book, coupled with a Wired for Success, Program for Failure, both of those books are by Dr. James B. Richards. I highly recommend them to anyone out there who wants to get them and change their life for the better. It's phenomenal. But like, one of the things that How to Stop the Pain talks about, it says complaining along with coping never actually fix the problem. Coping, if you use a coping mechanism, let's say it's, let's just say, for example, it's, like food, or maybe it's sex, or maybe it's whatever, it doesn't actually change the problem, right? Or complaining, same thing. You might complain about something, but that doesn't actually change the problem. Honestly, those kind of things just make it worse, because you don't actually address the issue at hand, And so I love what John Maxwell says. He goes, the more you complain, the less you'll obtain as well.
Yeah.
It's not just a clever, something that rhymes. It's true. I mean, the more I complain about my circumstances, but I'm unfreaking willing to do anything to change it, it's just going to make the situation worse. It's like we talked about earlier with the whole people that are pissed off at Mondays. I'm like, the reason you're mad about Mondays is because, dude, I think I was listening to another podcast today. It's like, I think it's something like 85% of all people are stressed out on Sunday afternoon. You know why? Because they're dreading having to go back to work. Yeah. They're dreading the fact that they have to go back, and
that's why bars are busy on Sunday nights. It's not football.
There we go. Yeah. And so, but like, it comes down to, it's like, well, why are you unhappy? Well, I don't like my job. I don't like this. Well, change it.
Right.
Dumbass, change it. Like, if you don't like your circumstances, change it. Like, why sit there and like suffer for all your life? And, to basically, live a life of, quiet desperation, while you have so much opportunity to go out and change your life. We might say, well, Ryan, I have, 3 kids, a wife, and I have to keep this job and everything. Well, yeah, you know what, dude? Obviously, your way of changing your life is going to be different than mine as a single guy who's still living at home as I work to grow this company and such. Obviously, your circumstance is going to be different, but that doesn't mean you can't change either. That doesn't mean that your story's over. That doesn't mean the end of the last page of your book has been written. So long as you wake up above ground every day, that's a great freaking day to be alive. And you have zero excuse to not make your life exactly how you want it to be. Especially, I love what Gary Vee talks about. He says, if someone looks like you and has succeeded, what I mean looks like you, whether they're black, whether they're white, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're Asian, whether they're a woman, whether they're a man, whatever. If someone looks like you and it has achieved, you have zero excuses.
Yep.
I mean, granted, you might say, well, right, look at my background. My mom, my mom and dad sexually assaulted me, or I got raped when I was a kid, or I had this, I had that happen to me. You know what, dude? That's everyone's story. You're honestly, I'm sorry for what happened to you, or more so what happened for you, because the fault is in yourself. There's this quote I need to read. I'm just thinking about this. Oh gosh, give me a second here. There's a quote by James Allen. Never say. There it is.
As you look it up, it's kind of funny. You kept bringing up John Maxwell. So the church I went to in South Florida, John Maxwell is an associate pastor of. I don't know if he's still associate pastor of it.
Oh, is it Skyline?
No, Christ Fellowship
Scotland. Sorry, that's in California. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he was a associate pastor. I didn't realize he was like a leadership guru. He was just a guy that preached on the fourth Sunday. So we would hear him every month, and I'm like, oh, I love Dr. Maxwell's like preaching and stuff like that. And then I like see all his like books in the bookstore. I'm like, I see him like in Sky Mall, and I'm like, that's Pastor John. Like, what do you like? I've talked to this guy a ton of times. And then when I moved to Ohio and tell people that, like, no, man, he's got like a leadership school up here that they do at, I think it's Ohio Dominican or one of the schools in Columbus area. They do the big conference and stuff like that every single year. And I'm like, oh, so he's a big deal. I just remember him as a pastor.
Right. No, for sure. He's phenomenal. I'm trying to find this quote, man. It's because it's super valid. But if I can't find it within the next like 20 seconds, I'm probably just going to have to. Above life's turmoil. Wait a minute. Never say. There it is. Is that it? Yes. So it says, do not say that your surroundings are against you. A man's surroundings are never against him. They are there to aid him. In all those outward occurrences over which you lose sweetness and peace of mind are the very conditions necessary to your development. And it is only by meeting and overcoming them that you can learn and grow and ripen. I love this part. It says, the fault is in yourself. Well, you might say, well, dude, how does that have to do? I got raped as a kid. I got, this happened, that happened. Yeah, you know what? There's a friend of mine who I had on my podcast recently. Her name is Elizabeth Fraser. Actually, this works out perfectly. This is an amazing example. Her name is Elizabeth Fraser. That podcast on my podcast, The Qualified, is live. You can check it out. She was in sex trafficking for over 20 years of her life, right? To make it even worse, she was being pimped out by her mom and dad. Her parents were pimping her out. And the earliest she can remember this experience happening was 4 years old.
That's crazy.
Four. Dude, my freaking niece that I'm going to babysit tomorrow is 2. 4 years old. What? She was in that for over 20 years of her life. What is she doing today? No one, absolutely no one, would blame her if she was in a psychiatric institute right now and having, and wanting to kill herself and, attempting suicide every day, right? No one would fault her for that. Why? Because of her negative experiences. However, what is she doing today? She is going around as a public speaker, empowering other people about sex trafficking. She started her own company called Hero Bands that gives to a company called Project Underground Railroad.
I read a little bit about her story. I think I may have found it from your Instagram because I follow him. I need to get. Right. I've been wanting to order some of the bands she has.
Dude, they're awesome. Like, she's giving to a company that's helping get people out of sex trafficking, which is one thing that's actually her story inspired me to add that pillar to Qualified Apparel whenever we're able to do that. And like, she's got 5 kids now. She's, getting her intimacy back with her husband as well, which she said honestly was one of the hardest things that she had to get back, overcome through this whole thing. And she's forgiven her parents as well. Now, granted, she doesn't associate with them. They're never going to meet her kids and such. They're out of her life, but she's forgiven them, which is wildly powerful. And just another thing to go on there, like, forgiveness, dude, is not so much an act of kindness towards the other person. It's an act of kindness towards yourself.
100%.
It has, because so long as you hold unforgiveness in your heart, you are allowing that person to be your jailer. You're allowing that person to dictate your life. They might have gone on and moved on. They might have gone on and married again or whatever have you, gone out and made money or whatever the heck they're doing with their life. It's irrelevant. But like, if you're still living in that unforgiveness, you're giving that person reign over your life. And so I say that to bring it up. That quote is so relevant to Elizabeth's life. She has every right to blame everything. And actually what's awesome is that she even says that she's grateful that this experience happened for her. Being in sex trafficking for over 20 years of her adult life, well into her adult life, actually well into her married life. Dude, she had to sleep. She had to tell her husband that she couldn't sleep some nights, and she would go and then she would tell her husband that she would go out driving so that, kind of take her mind off of things. Whenever in reality, she was actually going out and still having sex with people as a sex slave while she was married, even after she had her first kid. So don't sit here and tell me if she can overcome. Don't you dare sit here and tell me. I'm not talking to you specifically. I know. Like anyone listening. But like, don't you dare sit here and tell me that you can't overcome because of whatever happened in your life. How much less have you experienced in your life and yet you can't overcome. You're still pointing the finger at your mom, your dad, your teacher, your brother, your sister, whoever, an ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, ex-wife, an ex-girlfriend, whatever. If she can overcome after such an atrocity, dude, honestly, for the first 20 minutes of this podcast, I was having a hard time understanding exactly what I was hearing because it was that just wild to me.
Yeah.
But like, I say this as an example, because if she can get her life together, if she can take ownership of that, if she can be like, you know what, this happened for me as a means for me to empower other people and be more sympathetic with their struggles, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Right.
You know, why are you unable to get your life together? Well, you just don't understand. No, I do understand. The thing is that you're just not taking responsibility for your life. You're not allowing yourself to maybe you're not allowing yourself to feel the pain from it and start the healing process. I'm not negating the fact that you've had negative situations happen in your life. Please don't misunderstand my words here. What I'm saying is it's your responsibility to get your life together. This thing happened in your life for a reason. You know, honestly, actually, I don't even say that. This thing happened for you in your life with the opportunity for you to grow from it, right?
Yeah.
No, I kind of don't agree with the things, people say, like everything happens for a reason. Well, yeah, in a sense it does, but sometimes crap just happens in our life, and we can then associate a life experience to that reason.
Right.
Find our own reason out of that. And so, anyways, I'm not sure what you would initially ask. I apologize, I kind of got off a rant there, but no,
it's all good stuff. I like that for me kind of thing, because it definitely puts a different connotation on it. And I believe your shirt, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because it's your shirt, but I think you have one that says perspective changes everything.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that was I was between both of those that I was going to order, and I probably will still order that one anyways because it's pretty sweet, like the bars and stuff like that. I'm really into that like blocky kind of letter stuff. Like once I saw the blocky stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm totally getting this.
There you go. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, it's the whole aspect of your perspective. It's how you look at things. And that's really, to wrap up everything with positivity is it's all about your perspective. If you have this, woe is me, I'm the victim. And again, like Ryan said, things happen and they're shitty, and I can't even begin to understand what some people have gone through, just like you. I mean, I've had a very, very cush life. I haven't had any real, knock on wood, struggles in my life. Right. And I try to be empathetic the way I can, but until you go through something like that, it's hard to be 100% empathetic, and it's not taking away what happened to you, and it's not negating it or making it any belittling it at all, but it's how you come from those situations is really what defines you, because that's what's going to define. You said Heather was her name.
Elizabeth.
Close. Sorry, not even. I don't know where I got Heather from. But Elizabeth, she's now turned it because she has that different perspective, and now she's turned it into a positive, sharing her message and sharing her story that is going to touch people, has and will touch people in a way that she won't even understand. She's trying to do it. She has this hope of wanting to do it, but there's no way she even knows just the tip of the iceberg of the difference she's making in young women across the world that are dealing with this kind of situation and feeling like they're hopeless and that they can't get out of this situation. She's being that shining light, and like I said, it all comes down to perspective, I think, and that just intentional thinking of just being positive.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is that a good wrap up?
Oh yeah, there's a story that I love before we finish this that perfectly illustrates the perspective thing. I heard this from Dave Ramsey several years ago. He says, there's a study that was done whenever, they had these two boys, right? And they put them in one room, one in the other room. And both of the rooms that they were in were all full of horse manure, right? And so they leave the kids in there for about 30 minutes to an hour or whatever, and they come back after leaving them in there for a while. Well, the first kid they come to, he is just throwing a fit, right? He's crying. He's just in a corner, just like so angry at the world, whatever. And they go, what's wrong? Why are you upset? And he goes, what do you mean? What do you mean why I'm upset? You put me in a room full of horse manure. Nothing good ever happens to me. And they go to the second kid, and he's in there. He's just having a time of his life. He's having a gay old time, man. He's throwing poop everywhere. He's throwing it everywhere and like, woo, like looking around, whatever. They go, whoa, hold on, stop. What are you doing? He goes, what do you mean? He says, well, those manure, there's bound to be a pony in here somewhere. And so like the thing of it is, it's like the situations were ideally the same. However, the outcome and how they choose to look at their situation based on their perspective was diametrically different.
Yeah.
And so that's the power of perspective, man. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't change the circumstance as it is, but it changes how you go through it, how you experience it.
100%. Dude, loved the conversation. It's been a great time. Man. I appreciate it. How can people get in touch with you, get in touch with Qualified Apparel? Where can they find your podcast? Plug everything.
Right. Pow, pow. So for sure. So I hang out the most on Instagram. You can find me at Ryan C. Huff on Instagram. That's Ryan Charlie, C as in Charlie, Huff, Huff on Instagram. Send me a DM, comment on a picture. I'm happy to respond and connect with more people out there. And as far as Qualified Apparel is concerned, that's the website for that is qualified-apparel.com. And again, feel free to use the promo code podcast20 as well to get 20% off your first purchase as well through that. Again, free shipping. And most importantly, though, honestly, what we do with Qualified Apparel, we're simply using apparel as a tool to spread hope to those who need it most, hope for a better tomorrow. And so that's why 1 equals 20, one on a purchase equals 20 meals provided for families in America. And the Qualified family, like I said, is already at 10,960 meals to date, aiming to get over 15,000, which I know we will, and looking to partner with different businesses. So if you know anybody that would be interested in carrying high quality apparel that makes a difference within their backyard in the United States of America, definitely let me know. I'm happy to give them a call, shoot them an email, have a meeting with them, because ultimately that helps us make more of an impact and feed more families across America, which is the main thing. And then as far as the podcast is concerned, you can either go to iTunes, Spotify, it's pretty much everywhere podcasts are found. Just search The Qualified with Ryan Huff, or you can just search Ryan Huff, or I think you can search The Qualified as well, and that'll come up there. And we've got 64 episodes now. We've been going at it just over a year. A new episode is every Wednesday. Okay. I think I'm about to get into the point where I might be uploading more than once a week, just because I feel like I have so much more content to do. And so putting it once a week, it seems like it's stretching out a lot of the content that I could be doing. And so anyways, yeah, man. So
sweet. Yeah. So
people can connect that, man.
Yeah. So definitely connect with Ryan, connect with Qualified Apparel. Like I said, by the time this comes out, I will, I'm only doing once a week. Cause I'm like, if I'm going to bank some stuff, and then so it works out very well for my schedule. Sure. But by the time the show comes out, I will have my shirts, obviously, because Ryan just put them in the mail today. There'll be pictures online. Remember, use the promo code podcast20, get 20% off your first purchase, and then free shipping in the whole 9. The store is beautiful. Everything's beautiful. The shirts are amazing. Like visually seeing them online, I'm super excited to get them in. My wife doesn't even know I had ordered them yet. So when she comes in, she's going to be first, why did you buy me another t-shirt? And then second, because every time there's a bag in the mail, she's like, what did you make now? Because every time I make a shirt, I make her one too. She's like, why do you do that? I'm like, because it's promotion, honey. That's how things work.
Well, fortunately for her, the hang tag that we have easily says what we're all about. It says 1 equals 20, and it talks about when on purchase equals 20 meals provided for families in America. So she'll see that. She'll be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she already knows we're recording tonight, because that's why I was like, don't text me right now. I mean, she's having a real tough time laying at the beach in Florida, so whatever.
Yeah, life must be tough. Huh?
Yeah, it's a real tough life she lives.
But yeah, well, dude, I also wanted to say, man, thank you so much for inviting me on. Thanks for sliding into the old DMs and reaching out. This is actually, like I said, whenever we first had our first conversation, I wasn't sure what to expect, and this has definitely been a pleasant surprise, and really have enjoyed being on here and being able to share some of what we're all about, and hopefully we made an impact in someone's life in a positive way today. So
yeah, man, I think for sure that definitely happened today, and I'm looking forward to getting the feedback from everyone on this episode. But guys, you can reach out to me everywhere on social media at flores.run. Again, you can subscribe to the podcast. It would be great. You could also leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. The ratings help me feel better. No, I don't pay attention too much to the stars and stuff like that, but what it does help is it helps with the algorithm to kind of push it up in the list so people can listen to this and hear great messages like what Ryan had shared. So definitely share this podcast with everyone. You can leave that review. That helps as well. You can visit my website for all details at www.flores.run. Thanks so much for listening today, guys. Remember to keep running with purpose one step at a time, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.